was at home. I've always wanted to raise a Christmas tree with lights. But then I'm like, that's like half the fun of decorating a tree is making it bright. You know what I mean? So really it's up silly. So I'm like, no, I don't need any candles. I need new lights.
I'm glad it's actually a type of tree.
Mr. Floppy, the Christmas tree will last one more year, I'm sure. I bought it used. On every year, but I hate buying a plastic. But it's used and it's going to go in a dumpster if I don't use it. But they're printed for that. Remember the Christmas tree Dad threw out the front door and grew again? And he thought it was a tree.
Outside of his dining room. And he just threw it out the French door. Like 10 foot out. Maybe there is now like a 14-foot evergreen directly in front of the French door.
Well, the next year he goes, I gotta get that big weed out of that yard. No, that's our Christmas tree.
My problem is I don't have like having a place to
I don't know, read. There's friends and there's places, there's valleys, there's valleys.
look who's back.
Maybe outside, but
Good morning, and welcome to this service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Thomas Gregg, and I am the worship associate this morning. Leading the service today is our friend and longtime member, Margot Garcia. Let's give her a warm welcome. Reverend Jamili will be back in the pulpit early next month after a few weeks of very special guest speakers. Today is Sunday, November 16th, 2025. Our community is striving to become as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you have been, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. And whoever you are becoming, we welcome you and invite you to bring your whole self here now. Some housekeeping: there are gender-specific bathrooms out the glass doors behind you, and there is also an accessible and gender-inclusive single-stall restroom in the alcove behind the AV desk. As we worship today, let us always remain mindful of those desert people who came first to this place. We honor the O'odham, the Yaqui, and the Apache. We also honor the Hohokam and the many other ancient indigenous peoples whose names are not known to us. As Unitarian Universalists, one of our core values is generosity. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. As we move more deeply into the sacred space of worship, please know that you are indeed welcome here. Whether you walked in, rolled, or skipped, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whatever cultural and ethnic background you claim, whatever your immigration status, whomever you love, however you identify your gender, and in whatever way you choose to express it, you are truly welcome here. We especially welcome any new visitors this morning. If you are new and feeling up to it, we invite you to raise your hand so that we can welcome you warmly. Visitors today? Oh, wow. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
There. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together.
And now for our chalice lighting. Let's read together In Remembrance and in Hope by Dale Hudson. This is a house of reflection and contemplation, of joy and sorrow, friendship, sharing, and laughter. We light this chalice in remembrance of what we have been and in the hope of what we may become.
There it goes. Would you respond by standing as you are able and singing May Nothing Evil Cross the Store? There have been times in my in the last 25 years as I've been singing this song that it's felt like that song title was hyperbole, and now it feels more like a prayer. May nothing evil cross this door. The words will be on the screen. May nothing evil cross this door. May your fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. Our faith makes strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This far through all the world grow chill will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in. Please be seated.
So Margot, I arrived here in this church just a few years ago in 2022. Tell me what the church was like when you first arrived in 1967, 58 years ago.
Well, whoops. We arrived as a young family. Carl was 4 and Athena was 6. And JD had an appointment as an assistant professor of physics, and I was an at-home mom. We bought our first house on Hawthorne Street, and as a lifelong Unitarian, I dove right into church activities. We had a large RE program, about 180 children, with classes for each grade and a big high school group. It was the tradition that each spring the high school group would present a service. JD, being on campus, was soon the advisor for a college group, which met on campus or sometimes at our house. I remember one special meeting with Gerard Kuiper, who is the founder of now College of Lunar and Planetary Sciences. Each person for whom, the person for whom the Kuiper Belt was named. He came to our house to talk with the college group. He was a long-time family friend and UUCT supporter, and he answered the students' questions about astronomy and life. Services were held over in the Goddard Hall, and Russell Lincoln was the minister. Goddard had a raised platform and then a roof that projected over the raised platform, and to help project the minister's voice. We now share the the tables and chairs, in what was the minister's office. There was an entrance from a door from the hallway, and a wall was now where they have the hanging partition. The RE office was the officer administrator's office, and most people entered through that door into her office. Kathy Quinlan, a retired social worker, with a ready smile, was the office administrator, and she certainly made everyone feel welcome. And after Sunday service, just as we've discovered too, people would move the chairs back and go and get coffee. It was a multi-purpose room that had potlucks, dinners, dances, and stewardship kickoff extravaganzas.
And there were other buildings over there, right? The Thoreau and the Lincoln.
Yes.
You indicate, is the problem that I'm moving my face, or is it the, yes, okay, well, I'll try to stay focused in one direction. The two education buildings had been built. Thoreau is the one on the north, and the big room was divided into two classrooms with a folding partition. They're all named after famous Unitarians and Universalists, well, almost all. King Room was named for Thomas Starr King and Martin Luther King, who of course is not a UU. Blackwell and Ballou were the next rooms, and they were Universalists. And then the Barnum Room is for P.T. Barnum, who was a Unitarian creator and operator of the Barnum and Bailey Circus. And Jefferson, of course, Thomas Jefferson, we like to claim, but I don't think he ever joined the church. And all those could be separated into rooms. So there were 6 classrooms. The South Building, originally called the Parker Building for the Universalist minister Theodore Parker, was renamed the Lincoln Building when Russell Lincoln was minister in 1972. In the Lincoln Building, there's a large room, the first room on the east, which has a raised platform, and that was built for children's worship services. And then that could also be a classroom or a bridge group, or it could be a small luncheon room for when people were, because there's also a little kitchen. And I guess I just moved too much for this. On the other side. Okay, we'll do that. We'll try that. Okay. That's me, always causing problems, right? Okay, so there was this room which was for children's worship, and then the RE office was in what's now the Children's Center office, and at the end, of course, was Servitas. But that children's worship room was a problem. What were we going to call it? Chapel seemed, too East Coasty. The sanctuary seemed much too adult. And just a room didn't seem to have enough gravitas. So we had a great reflection and discussions on what to do. So we thought about, what do we want to have happen during worship services? And we decided that awareness room was a good name for it. Such a 60s word, but it was even in the call to worship today. A new sanctuary with the overall plan was always in the overall plan. And the discussion and fundraising began about 2 years after we arrived.
We'll stop there for a moment. Our earth is strong. It can hold our pain and our joy, our love and our anger. Our shared bowl, which we use for joys and sorrows each week, is strong enough to hold the big rocks. Our collective celebrations and mournings, and also the smaller stones that will be added to signify our individual joys and sorrows. We who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining and scarce resource. Let's remember those who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. We pour water into our bowl while remembering the supplies of water left by those who hold compassion for anyone crossing our desert to find a better life for themselves and their children. If you have a joy or a sorrow to share, I invite you to go to menti.com and put in the code 4570-4224, or use the projected QR code. And I know it works because I've used them before. Please add your name to your Menti if you want us to know who is sharing. And if any of you here in the sanctuary need some extra help to put your thoughts up, Brian Moon in the back there can help. And if you're here in person, I invite you to come up to the table and create ripples of hope by putting a stone into the water to symbolize your joy or sorrow. If you don't want to be on the camera, on the live stream, there is a small bowl in the back for you to also put your stones in. And some words on Menti, a joy to share, a many-year friendship with Sarah Kuiper. Lovely. Friendships, they're good things. Took a test and it was negative for gastroparesis. Thank God. 3 more months until I get scheduled for surgery. Prayers would be great. Thank you. We are thinking of you and hold you in our thoughts. Grateful for all the work that went into a successful rummage sale this weekend. Thank you, everyone. Yay, rummage sale. Appreciation of all the hard work for the rummage sale and all of the donations. Yes, thank you. Happy to do what I am able, even with declining health. Ooh, well, Yeah, we're happy that you do what you do as well. And it's good to be with you all today. Well, a lot of us feel that, so thank you. Goodness knows growing is hard. It hurts sometimes, and growing with others much different from you is even harder. But we did because we love one another. I'm so proud of us. I love you very much. Ooh, okay, growing is hard, but under those circumstances, even harder. Thank you for sharing that. And sorrow for domestic violence in our family. Oh, yeah, we are sorry with you and hope things get better.
The song Spirit of Life was originally a prayer. Please, from your seats, sing and hold these joys, these sorrows, hold each other in the song. Spirit of life, someone to me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots holding close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
So, Margot, now I want you to tell us all about this building, the Holland Sanctuary, and how it came to be built.
Well, it had always been part of the plan to build a formal, lovely sanctuary when the congregation grew big enough to raise the funds to accomplish this dream. Okay. The first milestone was when Mr. and Mrs. Walter Holland gave the church $100,000 towards the new sanctuary. That provided momentum to get us started. First was the selection of the architect. There was a competition, and we invited a friend of ours, Mike Lugo, to compete. After presentations, the committee chose Bill Goldblatt, a member of this church. A capital fundraising program got underway, and about $60,000 in 3-year pledges were raised in 2 months. Groundbreaking was March the 8th, 1970, and after church was when the groundbreaking was. And then in the evening, there was a dinner, and the former governor, Samuel Goddard, spoke to the congregation. In just 6 months, on October 11th, 1970, we moved into the new building.
Amazing.
Yes.
And what, there we go. What are the ideas behind the design of this building?
Well, Bill Goldblatt always explained that the large beam that's overhead is the backbone of our faith. And it was especially built for the project in the state of Washington and shipped here by a large truck in 2 pieces. And then it was raised by a crane and it was joined, you can see, with a large metal plate that's up there. Bill designed the curving walls to be like arms, holding one in an embrace, and the cherry wood paneling was for warmth. The room is also designed to be used in 3 different ways. We can do a service in the round, surgical right sort of there in the middle. You can have it face the long way using either the high stage or the low stage, or the way we do it now, facing this way. The high stage has actually a ceiling track, which you can use for hanging a curtain so that it could be used for plays. And there are steps and a door that's kind of hidden back there that goes to the patio. The two levels of the stage were designed that ministers could either preach on the high stage or on the low stage, or sometimes they preached on the low stage and the choir was actually on the high stage behind. There was a time when we had two pianos here on this intermediate stage, and we had wonderful piano duets that were played. The lobby was also called the crying room because babies could be taken there, and with a speaker in the ceiling, mothers could still hear the service and the children wouldn't disturb the other people. The alcove behind the AV desk had a folding door to partition it off, and the bathroom behind was the bride's bathroom. She could complete her dressing and go in and out to the door to the outside and come in for the grand procession without being seen. A small kitchen was used for receptions and also for the staff. There was a new minister's office, an administrator's office, then of course called a secretary, and a workspace for mimeographing the order of service and the monthly newsletter.
Yeah, mimeographing, I love that.
Yes, that was put in to remind you there were days when we mimeographed, yes. Behind the men and women's bathroom, of course, was the big HVAC, the mechanical room, which we know we've replaced in the last year. The stained glass windows, they're actually called faceted windows, are by Glidden Parker from the Glass Art Studio. And they were donated in the names of different individuals. The only one I really know about is one, and I believe it's one of these long ones, that Sarah Kuiper gave in memory of her husband, Gerard. The carved door pulls are by Kathy Hone, and they've been drawn and used many times as part of our sort of logo at this church. And I looked for a picture of one. You found it.
No, I took one.
Oh, you took one. I found the drawing because there's a really beautiful drawing of it. And this is a magnificent example of mid-century modern architecture. And it is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. Is there anyone interested in helping fill out the nomination form?
And a little bit more about the architect, Mr. Goldblatt. What did he do besides this building?
Well, Bill did all kinds of jobs in the church, from running the RE committee to taking on the stewardship drive. And when the church got to nearly 350 members, the congregation decided that they wanted to start another church in the northwest of Tucson. And Bill was one of the people who stepped forward in 1986, along with Margaret Ackerman, Howard Morton, and Emily Ricketts, to start the new church. They borrowed the embroidered chalice that I made to remember their link with 22nd Street. And after about 5 years, they returned it. Today, we know them as Mountain Vista UU.
And there was a time around then it was called the Sanctuary Movement. And did UUCT get involved in that?
Well, by now the minister was David Johnson, and he was a great believer in giving sanctuary to people fleeing wars and oppression. In the 1970s and 80s, people were fleeing from El Salvador. They came across the desert and arrived with nothing. And a group led by the Reverend John Fife of Southside Presbyterian, along with Quakers, Episcopalians, and Catholics, joined together to help the people get settled. They provided apartments and furniture and food and helped them find jobs. Despite David's preaching and congregational meetings, the congregation never did officially vote to join the sanctuary movement. But David was heavily involved in ways we did not know. And he kept all the information in his head and on his person, which was prudent, because we had FBI agents break into this church several times, rifling his files in the office, trying to find evidence against the movement. They came in through the roof, and in one case, they damaged the paneling in the sanctuary so badly there was no way to repair it. The sign, Minister's Study over there, is covering up the damage, and it is our badge of honor.
More in a bit. Well, I guess I'm still waiting for that light to shine on me. So, tell us a little bit about some of the social justice activities the church and church members were involved in.
Well, at UUCT, so many of our values have been the springboard for action. We have translated them into policy that impacts our state and local government. For instance, our minister from 1996 to 2001, the late Reverend Stan Stefancic, was one of the leaders of the effort to move the Arizona State Legislature, to move from the Arizona State Legislature districting congressional districts and state legislative districts into a nonpartisan commission. And we know how important that's become right now, yes. He was president of the local ACLU and the statewide organization in the late 1990s. They wrote a constitutional amendment, got signatures on petitions to get it on the ballot, and got the measure passed. He was also the leader in getting public funding for candidates, which allows people who are not millionaires and billionaires to run for office. In this time, I have certainly sent him many thanks of gratitude for his work. And the late Cornelius Steelink, who was a professor of chemistry and a church member, was a leading proponent for fluoridation of our drinking water. He was also a civil rights advocate, and in the early 1960s, in his role as ACLU president, he supported a Tucson couple, Hank Oyama, who was of Japanese ancestry, and his beloved of Mexican-American ancestry in their right to marry. The ACLU advocated for a change in the state law, and in 1962, interracial marriage became legal in Arizona. And that was between a Caucasian and a non-Caucasian, and I was 1962. So I was just thinking, JD and I were married in 1960. I wondered if we would have been in trouble. I don't know. We've also been an advocate for gay rights. You heard last Sunday about the controversy over renting the awareness room to the Metropolitan Church, a Christian church that was primarily of gay men. And in 1976, as a member of the Tucson City Council, I introduced a motion to make it illegal to discriminate against people on the basis of their sexual orientation for renting or purchasing housing and apartments. And we shouldn't forget that the Reverend Diane Daugert was one of the first ministers to be at the courthouse in Tucson to marry same-sex couples after the Supreme Court found in favor of such unions. So her picture was on the front page of the newspaper.
And I know that you have a great story about how the church, and you in particular, were involved in the teachers' strike with the school district in 1978. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, well, in this fall of 1978, the teachers in TUSD, maybe not any change from now, were so poorly paid that a beginning teacher with 2 children qualified for food stamps. The teachers went on strike over wages, but also on class size. After a service, I was standing right over there by the alcove next to John Stevens, who was a member and a special education teacher. I asked him how the strike was going. I'd read stories in the newspaper that TUSD was hiring anybody who applied as a substitute and giving them a teaching credential. John said TUSD was hiring as many substitutes as possible to keep the schools open. In talking with JD and Rick and Call and Fran Peck, who's now the Reverend Francis Day, about what might happen, John told us there was a lawyer in town who'd be willing to file a suit to void the emergency teaching certificates that the state was issuing to anybody willing to be a substitute teacher for $55 a day and to cross the picket lines. The Garcia, Call, and Peck families agreed to be the plaintiffs, and it turned out their families had children in all the programs in the school district: elementary, junior high, high school, special education, and the gifted programs. On Monday, the first day of the strike, 67% of the children went out and were on the picket lines along with parents supporting them. The October 3rd, 1978 Arizona Daily Star noted in their lead article that aside from about 300 certified district substitutes on regular call, about 400 of the emergency instructors recently hired did not have regular certification. The 3 church families filed suit against these emergency instructors, claiming they did not meet the certification requirements and had been illegally hired. The families went to court protesting the legality of the emergency certificates. At the hearing held in the downtown convention center, think what that meant in terms of what they were expecting, the first witness was a college student at the University of Arizona, obviously, hadn't completed the courses. Another was a high school student who had fabricated her resume to see if she could get a certificate, planning to write up the experience for the high school newspaper. Each told of their educational background, which did not meet the qualifications for certification. The final witness, a teacher's aide before the strike, had been hired as a teacher with an emergency certificate. Under questioning, she revealed she could not read. The judge was astonished. The deputy attorney general pleading the state's case was obviously upset and quickly moved to settle the case. The judge declared that the emergency certificates that had been issued were voided and no more could be issued to break the strike. The strike ended the next week, meeting the teachers' demands. No one ever figured out what the connection was between our 3 families.
And tell us about some of the elected officials that have come from this church.
Well, we've had quite a few. Yes. Though he was never an active member of our church, we love to claim the late Governor Samuel P. Goddard, who supported many of our values, and he was generous in giving us the land on which our campus is, and obviously we've named the Goddard Hall after him. His son, Terry Goddard, a former state attorney general, often spoke here at services. In my time, we were proud to call Morris Farr, also president of the church, a state senator from Tucson, and the Pima County chair of the Democratic Party. And I was thinking we also had many of our church members who headed up the different legislative district groups that usually form. Lucy Ward Davidson was also a state senator and a knowledgeable advocate for sane water policies. Most recently, Pam Powers Hanley was a state senator, and several of us worked on her campaigns and regularly talked to her about state issues. One of my thrills is one time she was in a hearing, she picked up the phone and called me and said, "I just heard this, is it true?" I said, "No," and told her the other side of the story. Never had that happen before. In local politics, Ray Weaver was no relation to me, was a city council member in the 60s. And then I was elected as a city council member 50 years ago, 1975, and 3 other council members. Together, we changed the way we think about water in this desert city. We put in an increasing tier rate structure, so the more water you use, the more you had to pay for it, which is using economics to encourage conservation. This was a very new idea that people had a hard time accepting, and people were so upset that they put out a recall petition, and they got enough signatures collected so that in January 1976, a recall election was held, and I lost my seat as the Ward 4 council member. I credit my Unitarian Universalist faith as making me strong in my ability to hold on to a rational policy, despite vocal and nasty opposition. I believe in the interdependence of web of existence of which we are part, and that I believe that our value of the inherent worthiness of every individual is fundamental to our desire to make this world a better place for everyone to thrive. These stories are from the hearts, the beliefs of the people who have shared this sacred space, that the undulating warm arms of our sanctuary have heard and stored. May they inspire us as we go forth. Each of us has something we can do. Maybe it's just to call a friend and listen to their stories, or stand up for what we know is right, even when it's difficult. Bring some hard-boiled eggs for Casa Maria last Tuesday morning of the month. Tell an elected official about what's important to you. Vote, and pitch in to help the people in this church realize their tremendous potential and their ability to influence the future for the better. Let it be.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Margot. Thank you. I learned a lot. However you participated in today's service, our congregation depends upon you for your love, your time, and your financial support. For those of you here in person, the ushers will soon be passing the collection baskets among you. For those of you watching us online, you can send a check to our church office, or you can give online at uuctucson.org/donate. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. As the offering is collected, announcements about upcoming activities will appear on the screen.
Good morning. Finally. My name is Jan Mulder, and I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. My portfolios are church leadership and denomination. First, I want to invite everyone to social hour after the service in Goddard Hall, which is out the double doors behind you and to your left. There will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, snacks, and of course, good company. Social hour food and refreshments are free for all, and donations are appreciated to cover our costs. Also, if you are new and want to stay in touch with us, you can fill out a guest information card in the Welcome Center in Goddard Hall. You can also find a virtual guest information card in the newcomers section of our website. And we do have some announcements. Please join us for a celebration of life for Larry Newhouse next Saturday, November 22nd at 10:30 a.m. here at UUCT. A reception will follow the service. Thank you to everyone who made the yard sale this weekend a success. We made approximately $2,500. We're still counting, and I understand there are still some goodies there in Goddard if you want to shop some more, so please do. As you may have heard, Worship in the Woods is back. This event involves part hike, part worship, with elements like poetry, songs, meditation, and conversation. Today is the last chance to email Reverend Lisa McDaniel Hutchings to participate in our gratitude hike this Tuesday, November 18th. Meet at 9 a.m. at Broadway Trailhead for a gentle 2-mile hike. Finally, if you're someone who enjoys working outdoors in community, please consider joining us in January for a half day of planting drought-tolerant plants such as agaves and cactus in the back rain garden and a few more in the front gardens. Stay tuned for more information or see me if you have questions. Thank you.
Test. If you are able to smile out of your back right shoulder at the children coming in the door, welcome them with song, please. Come in, please enter and come here. Come in, we're glad that you are here. You are learning, you are growing, just as we are too. We are thinking, we are singing, so glad to share this space with you. Thank you.
Hi, kids. I'm glad to see you here today. Yeah, hi. So you know what? Some of you are just about the age that my children were when we first came here. And today we've been talking about our church. And especially, one of the things we talked about was this room. And so I want you to look around the room. How is it different from any room in your house? Do you notice anything different about it? What do you think? No? Don't think of anything? Well, one of the things I wanted to show you was, look at it. Is it a square? Most of us live in houses with rooms that are square. And look it's not really a square, is it? It's a sort of interesting shape. And the person who built it was called an architect. And he wanted it to be like arms that hugged you. Do arms that hug you, are they square? No, they're round, aren't they? They're kind of round. And when you build something, just like you drew the picture there, you had an idea in your mind, didn't you, of what you wanted that to look like or what you were building should be like. Yeah. And so that was his idea. He thought about what it meant to be a Unitarian Universalist when he developed this space. And look, can you see that up in the ceiling? Look at that big, big piece of wood up there called a beam. Can you see it up there? Look at that. And that was specially built to come to this church a long ways away in Washington State and came on a big truck. And I bet you would have loved to see it go up because it was a big crane that lifted the pieces up high and put them in place on pillars that were situated around the outside of the church. They told everybody what hour it was so all the people could come and watch them put that big beam into place and then attach the other beams to it as well. So when you come into this room, how do you feel? Is there a special feeling that comes? I know there are a lot of people who have come for the first time and they open those doors and they look in and they say, oh. And we call it a sanctuary for a special reason. Have you ever heard that word before? I know you haven't yet. Someday you'll know that word, sanctuary. Yes. So anyway, we call it a sanctuary and it's a special place. And where you're sitting now on the soft place, we call it, there used to be an organ sitting there, and you wouldn't have been able to sit there. But now we decided the children were more important, and so we made a place for you to be here. So we're glad you're here today, and thank you for coming.
Would you please rise as you are able and join in singing We'll Build a Land? Hymn 121 on the gray hymnal, if you have that, but the words will be projected on the screen. We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a land, this land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers anointed by God may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers anointed by God may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land where people show bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers anointed by God may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build a land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers anointed by God may then create peace, where justice shall roll
There's so many other stories that I could tell and that all many of you can add to. And stories I was thinking as we were sitting here of the children. We used to have the junior strings practice here and give their concerts here. Gloria McMillan's here, who led the police Balkan effort for a long time. So many of you. And so let's continue the conversations then in the coffee hour and be telling our stories of being here and what it has meant to us. And so as we go, let's read together as we say our extinguishment. Let us say together as we extinguish our chalice, and let us promise, be our religion, like sunshine that goes everywhere. Its temple all's praise, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its rituals work of love, its profession of faith, divine living. Go in peace, and we'll see you, I hope, next week. Take care.